All right, welcome everybody to our exploration of the hidden face of God. We are very, very excited.
It's a book by Gerald Schroeder.
Yes, it's a book right here, book by Gerald Schroeder, The Hidden Face of God. And that's what we're going to discuss. We have 4 different quotes we're going to discuss, and we're just going to jump right into it. So the first quote is, "A single consciousness, an all-encompassing wisdom pervades the universe. All existence is the expression of this wisdom. The information just appears as a given with no causal agent evident." So that's right from the book. So what we're going to do is explore how metaphysical science ties right into that, and how we would express it from that viewpoint. All right. Welcome, Betty. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
All
I
right.
need to hear what you've got to say.
Are we ready to explore this?
Of
Let's
course.
go. All right. So we're going to delve into this whole thing. So to start, we're going to relate this to Mary Baker Eddy's statement, "All is infinite mind and its infinite manifestation, for God is all in all," from Science and Health, page 468, line 10 and 11. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's what we're going to relate it to. Now, another thing to think about is in metaphysical science, there's a strong emphasis on the idea that all reality is a manifestation of one infinite universal mind, capital M, to signify its divine nature. This means that everything we see, feel, and know is essentially a reflection of mind. Right?
Yep.
So when Schroeder talks about a single consciousness pervading the universe, that aligns pretty well, right?
Well, I wouldn't use it that way.
Okay, well, what would you say?
I don't think it pervades it. I think it constitutes it.
All right. Yeah, very good. So constitutes, not pervades. All right. And then mind really is the ultimate substance and cause of all existence. But you wouldn't say mind is an ultimate substance, would you either?
Well, the substance of spirit would be mind.
Okay. So the ultimate substance and cause of all existence. So it fits well, it aligns with that idea, that
Yeah.
whole his statement about it. Okay, awesome. And then in metaphysical science, essentially, the assertion is that nothing exists separately from universal mind,
Yep.
from the divinity or consciousness.
That aligns with all is infinite mind manifest. Yep.
Okay. All right. So, oops. So we could say that all existence and every aspect of our lives are not physical or separate entities on their own, but are manifestations or expressions of this infinite divine mind. So essentially, everything you experience is a form of consciousness or thought. But
That I agree with.
that you agree with. All right. All right. Very good. So, but basically what we're seeing is that science and what's being explored supports the tenets of Mary Baker Eddy and what she said in the science.
Yeah, well, the reason that you explore it is because you have this thought that something is separate. Otherwise, there's no exploration.
Well, what's the fun in that?
I just said it wouldn't even exist if you didn't have the thought that there was something separate.
Right. Well, you could say that scientific metaphysics or metaphysical science stands in opposition to the common belief that physical objects and mental ideas are separate from each other.
True. Okay.
Okay.
Does everybody see the people down below our picture on this screen? Do they, Kim?
Yeah, everybody would see that background.
I just think that is terrific because that is the picture of the hidden face of God.
Right.
Everything that exists or seems to exist has got to be one presence seen the way we see it.
Right. And I would say that the whole thing that he's getting at here, and the whole thing that metaphysical science kind of has to say, or does have to say, not kind of, is that it's a challenge. And it's a challenge to how we perceive things. Right. So it's a challenge to how we perceive reality, because when we just walk through life, it looks like what I think and what I'm seeing and all that is all this separate stuff.
Yeah, and I don't recognize that the consciousness constituting my own being is the look of everything seen, heard, and felt.
Right. Because we look at it in our daily lives
We
like,
think it's over there.
that's right. We're looking at all the problems and challenges as external things that are caused by our physical circumstances or
So
by other people, right?
we think we look at instead of look as.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And to
Yeah.
that end, science basically suggests that these are merely illusions or misunderstandings of the true nature of reality. Can you
What
agree
I
with
think
that?
they mean would be the illusion.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So when we understand that everything is a manifestation of infinite mind, then I can start to see that all limitations are problems, and problems are really self-imposed beliefs.
Yep.
Okay.
Can't argue with that.
All right. So we're getting there. And if any of you have any questions or anything like that, go ahead and put those in the comments. We'd welcome any of that engagement, because what we're doing is we're looking at how what gets said in the hidden face of God actually relates and kind of can be correlate with, or, come close to what we see with metaphysical science.
I'm interested when I find books like Schroeder's book. Margaret said that this science is pervasive everywhere, and it's showing up in language everywhere. And this is just, we keep running into it in these books that are written by other people that don't know anything about what we've been talking about as Mary Baker Eddy's ideas. They just, it occurs to them as they describe it, and what we see is it correlative to what we've been talking about as science,
Right.
as physical science.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so when we get back to, all limitations and problems are self-imposed beliefs, which is good news and bad news, I suppose, depending on how you're looking at this. But it's kind of like comments like, I can't help it, or it's not my fault. Enforce those beliefs, keeping us, you could say, keeping us trapped in a belief system that sees us as separate and limited. So those would be where limiting beliefs come from that get in the way of living fulfilled.
Yeah.
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 All right. Okay. So it's all just a belief. Just drop the beliefs. Let them go.
Yeah. And just be willing to consider that you aren't a bunch of beliefs.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
So then we've also got scientists that are exploring these ideas, and physicists in specific. So here's a quote from Amit Goswami that talks about the self-aware universe, highlighting that consciousness might indeed be the primary substance of the universe, which Mary Baker Eddy would be jumping up and down saying, absolutely.
Yep.
Right? Because that's just very clear. And here's a physicist who's come to this as a self-aware universe. So that's pretty darn cool. And that resonates with what we're saying. And they suggest that consciousness can offer explanations to a ton of mysteries that traditional physical science can't fully unravel. And that's when they get into the, go ahead.
Or hasn't yet unraveled.
Exactly. But that's what gets into that world of quantum physics, where it's a particle or a wave, and the observer is what has it become a particle. Otherwise, it would just resort to being a wave.
It's as you say when you get into that.
Exactly. And what that is, yeah, it's like very much in that vein. And I think in your book, you quoted Fritjof Capra.
Yeah.
Right. And he was also a quantum physicist.
Yeah.
So essentially, in summary of this first topic, this first quote that we brought in from his book, we can explore Schroeder's ideas by affirming that the all-encompassing wisdom that he describes is indeed the infinite mind or universal consciousness. Can we agree to that? Or does it sound like that's what he's saying? That's how we can read that? And that divine mind is the reality constituting everything that we experience.
Yep.
Right? And that can help us see beyond the illusions of physical separateness, recognizing instead the allness and oneness of our true existence as mind.
Yeah, it's mind action.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All righty then. So now we're moving into the next quote that we pulled from the book from Schroeder, who said or wrote, the concept that there might be an attribute as non-physical as information or wisdom at the heart of existence in no way denigrates the physical aspects of our lives. So let's dive into that a bit, shall we?
All right.
Now, let's see. I got to figure out where I am.
Scientific metaphysics teaches that everything begins with the God idea, which means that God, truth, reality are seen as the ultimate source of everything that exists or seems to exist.
Right. So when we talk about the God idea in science, we're discussing something beyond the physical world. Because how would the physical world play into it other than we're always addressing beyond that, not that the physical world specifically. That's just language.
It isn't beyond that, Kim.
It just doesn't exist.
It is not beyond it. It is the accurate view of what you're looking at instead of what you believe it is.
Okay.
Like all is infinite mind, and my daily experience has me looking at living in a house, driving a car, cooking dinner, all that stuff. It's not separate. It's a view that can take either direction depending on how I'm living myself. If I live myself as dependent on that view, I give myself problems. If I live myself as the God idea in action, then I'm the source and condition of my own living.
Right. Right. So when Gerald Schroeder talks about information and wisdom being non-physical attributes,
yep,
science basically agrees that these attributes are essential to our existence because they express their expression of the God idea.
Yeah, the thing I keep running into with Schroeder and others that write the same kind of information is that he thinks that there is something that exists that's physical, but we are ignoring that.
Right.
Preferring to view it some other way.
Right.
Which gives us a duality.
Right.
It isn't true.
Well, isn't that what kind of what Mary Baker Eddy wrote about error? Isn't that kind of lead you to the same kind of duality
Well,
and denial?
It's perception.
Okay.
Perception is reception. If
Yeah.
I perceive my world as something outside of my consciousness over there that I can point to and dispose of without it affecting me, then I'm living in a dual world where my consciousness is restricted to this two-legged animal called Betty. And I have a whole bunch of stuff out there that can affect me.
Okay.
And science says, I am the world I walk through. So it's all mental percept.
Right. So tell me about this one. So what would you say if people think, well, all I got to do is look past the physical attributes like hair color, height, and all that, and what I really should do is focus on inner divine qualities like honesty, integrity, and self-responsibility. That all of these qualities are reflections of the God idea constituting us. What would you say to that kind of idea or that kind of thinking?
Well, it sounds like a lesson in how to consider metaphysical ideas.
Right. It's like a recipe more, right? But it doesn't really have to do with that, does it?
Well, whatever accesses, be it song, sermon, or science, whatever gets you to consider the reality that you are and
Right.
its all-encompassing nature. These are all different ways of expressing that same idea.
Right.
So there is only one thing going on, however
Right.
you wish to observe it.
Right. So all of that I observe are qualities that are reflections of the God idea constituting my best view.
Yeah, and when you get right down to it, it's me calling the shots on my living. Because the God idea present is all there is to the seen, heard, and felt.
Right.
It's a point of view on reality, right?
Yeah.
So if reality is what's present, my living of it is up to me.
Right. Yeah, because who we are isn't confined to our physical form or anything else. It's all ever changing or constantly changing reality.
Yeah, and the way it looks is not the way it is.
Right.
But if I live it as the way it looks, then I've got all the stuff that goes with that baggage.
So that would be if I believe that things are the way they look.
Yeah,
Now
sure.
I've got all
Then
of
I'm
that.
gonna have a different experience of it than if I allow it to look like it wants to look and recognize that the source is divine.
Got it.
And
Okay.
therefore it's in harmony with all being.
Right. Okay. So then if in reading the hidden face of God and exploring that, really what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to explore and understand, and even in your own reality, in your own world, if you have this kind of, I guess it would be kind of continuous exploration of, of new ideas and all of that using the lens of science, that helps maintain the freedom, joy, power, presence, creativity, all of that in living. Would you say that maps?
Yep.
Okay. So continuous exploration, and what I would term, quite frankly, curiosity, offers protection from suffering and loss.
No, it's not protection.
It's not protection.
If you have a protection, you've got a threat.
Oh, I get it. So if you have a perceived threat, you've got two things going on.
Right.
Okay.
So
So
then you
really
find a way to defend yourself.
right, got it. So all of the continuous exploration just allows you to keep yourself from getting stuck in old concepts and beliefs and just continuously letting them go because you're curious, because that curiosity drives that.
That's right. So every day you walk down the street, it's the same thing.
Right.
It's their opportunity to let it go, let it be, whatever it looks
Right.
like. All is infinite mind. Oh, this is the way it looks today. Margaret used to say, "This is the dress God's wearing." Oh, okay.
Yeah.
On we go.
Right. And then what she also said was truth cannot be taught. Truth functions individually as insight.
That's right.
And that's really key. So it's not, you don't need protection from anything, because when you're all, there's nothing to protect from or against. So that would be a warning sign that you're stuck in the two things going on then.
It's a big, loud warning sign, actually. Gets your attention.
Hello. Okay. All right. So essentially, each of us individually must discover the truth for ourselves.
Absolutely. Who else could do it?
And by recognizing divinity constitutes man.
There's just one thing going on.
Right. But can I say that divinity constitutes man?
Constitutes all there is.
Right. So then the answer would be yes.
So God in action is all that's going on. Whatever I call it.
Right. All right. So all together, when we look at, when we look at the concept that there might be an attribute as non-physical as information or wisdom at the heart of existence and no way denigrates the physical aspects of our lives. It does. Huh?
A lot of words.
I know, but it's what he said, and we've explored that idea. I'm just trying to circle back to it and say that ideas like wisdom and the spiritual facts, identifying with that and acknowledging that.
Yep.
That's all actions of the God idea.
Yep.
And the ultimate source of all existence.
Yeah. And then down here further, you indicated that this understanding encourages us to see ourselves and everything around us through the lens of these qualities of wisdom and truth.
Where did I say that?
Paragraph beginning in Scientific Metaphysics. Middle of the page, down below.
I don't see that.
Well, it's there, but we won't argue. But you went on to say that by constantly exploring and understanding through the lens of the God idea,
right,
we maintain creative growth.
Oh, I see it now. You're right. Yep.
This exploration offers protection, and that's what I argued with you about.
That's right.
No
I got it.
needed.
Yep. Right. Okay. So now the next idea that we're going to explore from Schroeder's book is not by bread alone does a human live, which is a Bible quote, right? Biblical quote. Lets us know that there are two crucial aspects to our lives. One, which is bread, physical satisfaction, and the other is an underlying universal wisdom. I ran out of a character there, but it's wisdom. So that's the quote. So that's what we're going to explore here.
Okay.
All right. So when you hear the phrase "not by bread alone does a human live," what does that conjure up from a science standpoint for you, Betty?
Well, the quote is talking about intelligence functioning, like the need for truth and love and life and mind, all of that.
Right. Okay.
All of the non-physical attributes to living.
Right. So wisdom or knowledge or wisdom or understanding is what I would say is something divine, something that comes from God or mind.
It doesn't come from, it is present as.
Is present as.
It says man is the expression of God's being.
That.
That's
So
what has to
if I
be.
say from, it means two things going on, but it's as.
Yep.
And then you've got the one. I get it. Okay, cool. All right, because metaphysical science sees no split between the spiritual and the material. Because it's all one thing going on, showing up the only way I can see it.
Yeah, and when there's one thing, there's no between.
Right.
It's,
Right. I like that.
yeah.
Okay. Now, when you think about your daily experience, eating, walking, talking, these are all expressions of divine mind in forms we can understand, right?
It's the way it looks right now.
It's the way it looks right now. Okay. So you might think of your life as split between what you want, your personal desires, and what is best for you, or divine wisdom, or some like that. But what does metaphysical science teach? Because it teaches there's no split at all.
Nope.
So does it map that when you understand that your divine self is an expression of God's being, everything in your life, all thoughts and experience express that divine presence?
If you're living the science that you're talking about at the moment, if you're living that, there's no decision made. What it's doing is describing for you what it looks like when you're living your science.
Okay.
I bring that up because it sounds like you think with these words that we use, it projects the picture that we're two-legged animals. We got to do this and do this and do this, and then it will look better.
I know. Well, that's only because, 99% of the world out there actually lives exactly to that creed.
Well, my 99% doesn't live that way.
All right. Calling.
That's Diane.
Oh, I thought it was God calling.
Yeah. I thought she had a question.
Oh, maybe she does. Who knows? All right. Anyways, okay. So carrying on here. It's not about visualizing specific things you want. So there's this whole thing about just visualize what you want and it'll show up or whatever. But it isn't about that, really. It's about recognizing that everything is exactly as it should be, and the only way you can see it, isn't it? But then what would drive any change or shift?
Yeah, I want to say something to this business about desire,
Yeah,
visualizing, whatever it is you call that, all that stuff.
you bet.
It is because I already have it all that I even have the capacity to desire. Desire, by the way, always deals with the past. I can't desire something I've never heard of or thought of at all. If I've
Right.
thought of it, it's in the past.
Yeah.
If I'm visualizing it, it's in the past. If I'm thinking about it, it's in the past.
So already present, essentially.
So it's already present. Nothing to be done about that except acknowledge and allow.
Got it.
So that's why with whatever's going on, scientists learn to allow it to be. Oh, this is a dress God's wearing today? Okay, on we go.
Right.
Most of the time, human beings think they have to fix it or change it or improve it or share it, modify it in some way or other. You want to walk on. If
Right.
all is infinite mind, on we go. Not, well, I can fix that.
Right. So it's not about material needs like bread.
Well, it's not unabout it.
Right, but it's about divine mind, acknowledging divine mind in action.
Yeah, and there's no aboutness. It's all inclusive.
Exactly.
Who I'm being is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's good.
And what I'm seeing, by the way, is what I'm being consciously. I am the world I walk through.
Right. Yeah.
In a very real sense, all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So now we're going into the fourth quote by Schroeder in his book, The Hidden Face of God. When we see through the camouflage haze that at times convinces us that only the material exists, when we touch that consciousness, we know it. A joyful rush of emotion sweeps over the entire self. You like this one. This one makes you laugh.
No, it amuses me. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So to that end, let's start to explore that. So essentially, when we talk about seeing through the camouflage haze that at times convinces us that only the material exists, we're addressing the common belief that the physical world is the only reality.
And
Well, that's just it. We're believing in two things. We're believing that what we see is separate from.
what do you think prods us to let go of that belief?
Probably problems.
Yeah. The source of all our problems. Believing that we live and move and have being as two-legged animals with a
Right.
bunch of stuff going on external to our own consciousness.
Right.
That's riddled with problems.
Yeah. Right. Totally. So when we can stop thinking of ourselves just as separate people with separate bodies and instead start to acknowledge that we are expressions of God's infinite intelligence,
Yep.
we start to touch that deeper spiritual reality. Or what you would say is we start to get in line with what's so.
We start to recognize who we are.
Yes. Yes. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. The thing is, all of my self-communication is up to that.
Right.
Every bit of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
People I talk to, the places I go, the stuff I do, all of my human living is putting me in touch with the infinite capacity of being me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So by recognizing ourselves as God action, we align with that spiritual understanding, with the one thing going on.
Yeah, we don't align with it as if it existed over there somewhere and we've pulled it into.
Right. We're just in harmony with the whole thread of the universe.
We're recognizing the presence that we are.
Yeah.
The presence, the power, the wholeness, the completeness, the fullness, however you say that.
No, I get it.
All is infinite mind, infinitely manifest, and this is the way it looks.
Yeah. Yep. So it's not about picturing a new car or a better job and making it all happen, although that could be the picture. It's really about realizing that the God idea, or as God's idea, completeness, satisfaction, and fulfillment constitute.
Yeah, it's your willingness to allow it to be.
Yeah.
Since all is infinite mind, allow it to be.
Right.
I don't have to do something about it.
Right.
Oh, all is infinite mind? Well, all right.
Right. So it's really all about understanding that everything that happens in our lives is a manifestation of divine mind.
And being willing. If I have, if I'm wearing a mink coat, which I love,
Yeah.
I may not even be willing to consider that I might not have that if I weren't in the job I'm in, making the money I'm making, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Right.
If I'm basing my my satisfaction and joy and well-being on the appearance of things. You know, it's like if I think that's the sum and substance of joy and happiness and fulfillment, the time's going to come when I'm going to have none of it.
Right.
Because that's not a true statement.
Right.
It's the reverse. When I'm fulfilled and whole and complete and willing
Yep.
to have it be however it needs to be, just allowing it to be, then I'm home free, but I have no attachment to it.
Right.
Being willing means whatever shows up, you look at it and say, well, it's either God being, in which case it's a blessing. If it's not God being, it doesn't exist. So I'm not going to do anything fussing with it.
Right.
Allow it to be.
Right. So it's all God's blessing. Right?
Pardon?
It's all God's blessing.
Well, it's all mine.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't really use the word God as much as I do the God idea.
Right.
Because there isn't any.
Because you think of a thing when you think of God, you think of.
Right. There's no being itself being is the God idea in action. Right. And I call it everyday living, Betty doing her stuff. Betty isn't God, but the reality present is.
Right. So you could say that, and the way that this looks at is science really does reveal the sense of oneness with God or mind and understanding our true nature as divine idea, self-expressing.
Yep.
That's really what science is about, revealing ongoingly, moment by moment by moment by moment.
Yeah, it's learning to live yourself whole.
Yeah.
Being itself being.
Right.
And allowing it to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that pretty much sums up how metaphysical science and these ideas from the hidden face of God. Is there anything else you want to say to just finish it up?
Bye.
All right. We'll see you all next time. So enjoy. If you enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get notifications, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, thank you.